You're exhausted, not from working hard, from people-pleasing, from saying yes when you want to say no, from doing things you hate because someone asked, from putting everyone else first while you come last, from pretending you're fine when you're dying inside, from smiling through disrespect because confrontation feels wrong. You're tired of being everyone's backup plan, their free therapist, their convenient option. And you're watching this video because you're finally ready to stop. Good. Because people-pleasing is killing you. Slowly, quietly. You think you're being nice, you're actually being used. You think you're building relationships, you're actually building resentment. You think people appreciate you. They don't. They just know you'll always say yes. And people who always say yes get zero respect, zero boundaries, zero control over their own lives. You've spent years being the nice person. And where has it gotten you? Exhausted, taken for granted, walked all over. That ends today. I'm not going to give you gentle advice about setting boundaries with love and kindness. You've tried that. It didn't work. Because people-pleasers don't need gentle advice. They need a wake-up call. They need someone to tell them the brutal truth. People are using you. And they'll keep using you until you stop letting them. Not until you ask nicely. Until you stop. Period. No explanation. No apology. Just stop. This video is going to end the people-pleaser in you. Not by making you mean. By making you understand that being nice to everyone makes you valuable to no one. By showing you that people-pleasing is a disease that spreads until it consumes your entire life. By teaching you what Machiavelli understood 500 years ago. Respect isn't given to nice people, it's given to people with boundaries. And boundaries aren't requests, they're declarations. If you're done being everyone's doormat, hit that subscribe button right now. This channel doesn't teach you to be liked by everyone. We teach you to be respected by people who matter. Drop this in the comments before we start. I'm done people-pleasing. I'm starting self-respecting. Let's kill the people-pleaser and you starting with the hardest truth. Nobody actually likes you more because you say yes to everything. This is the lie you tell yourself. If I help everyone, they'll like me. If I'm always available, they'll appreciate me. If I never say no, they'll value me. Wrong, dead wrong. They don't like you more. They like what you do for them. The moment you stop doing things, they stop caring about you. You're not a friend. You're a service. And services get used until they break. Think about it honestly. The people you say yes to constantly. Do they check on you when you need help? Do they offer to help you without being asked? Do they respect your time like you respect theirs? No. They text when they need something. They call when they have a problem. They show up when they want a favor. But where are they when you're struggling? Nowhere. Because they don't actually care about you. They care about what you provide. Your constant availability. Your inability to say no. Your desperate need to be liked. Here's what actually happens when you always say yes. People stop valuing your yes. If you say yes to everything, your yes means nothing. It's expected, it's guaranteed, there's no weight to it. But the person who rarely says yes, their yes is valuable, precious, worth something. Because it's rare. You made your yes worthless by giving it away freely to everyone. That's not nice, that's stupid. And people can sense desperation. When you're too eager to help, too quick to agree, too available all the time, they smell it. Desperation. Need for approval, fear of rejection, and desperate people get used, not respected. Respected people make others work for their time, make them earn their help, make them appreciate their presence. You give it all away for free, then wonder why nobody values it. Free things have no value. That's basic economics applied to relationships. The brutal truth is people like you less because you're always available. You're boring, predictable, always the same answer, always willing, always there. There's no challenge, no mystery, no value in winning you over because you're already won over. People chase what they can't easily get. You're too easy to get. So they don't chase you, they use you. There's a massive difference between being chased and being used. You're being used, and you're calling it being liked. Stop lying to yourself that people-pleasing builds relationships. It doesn't. It builds resentment. You resent them for asking too much. They resent you for making them feel guilty when they inevitably use you. Real relationships are built on mutual respect, not on one person doing everything while the other takes everything. That's not friendship. That's exploitation, and you're volunteering for exploitation by never saying no. Machiavelli once said, "It is better to be feared than loved if you cannot be both. You don't need to be feared, but you need to be respected. And respect doesn't come from being everyone's yes person. It comes from being someone who values their time enough to say no. Someone who values themselves enough to have boundaries. Someone who understands that being liked by everyone means being respected by no one." Drop this in the comments if this truth hurt. I people please because I need approval, not because I'm nice. Saying yes when you want to say no is lying. Let that sink in. Every time you agree to something you don't want to do, you're lying. Not to them, to yourself. You're lying about what you want, about what you can handle, about what matters to you. And these lies accumulate, they build up, they create a life you hate, a life where you're constantly doing things you don't want to do with people you don't want to be around. All because you couldn't tell the truth. No, I don't want to. You think lying by saying yes is being polite. It's not. It's being a coward, too scared to disappoint someone, too afraid of conflict, too desperate for approval. So you lie with your yes. You agree when you disagree. You commit when you can't deliver. You show up when you want to stay home. Every yes that should have been a no is a lie, and liars lose respect, even when the lie is saying yes. Here's what happens when you constantly say yes when you mean no. You start resenting people. They didn't do anything wrong. They asked. You said yes. They believed you, but you resent them because you didn't want to say yes. You wanted them to read your mind, to know you didn't really mean it, to insist you don't have to. They didn't. They took your yes at face value, like normal people do. Now you're angry at them for believing your lie. That's insane. This resentment poisons everything. You do the favor, but you're bitter about it. You show up, but you're miserable being there. You help, but you're counting how many times they've asked versus how many times they've helped. You're keeping score of interactions that started with your lie. They didn't force you. You volunteered by saying yes, but you blame them for taking you up on it. This is emotional manipulation. You're making them feel guilty for accepting your offer. That's not being nice. That's being toxic. The truth is always better than the comfortable lie. No, I can't make it. No, I don't have time. No, I'm not interested. Simple, direct, honest. People respect honesty more than they respect fake agreeability. When you say no honestly, people know where they stand. When you say yes dishonestly, they think everything is fine while you're building resentment. Which one is better for actual relationships? The honest no, every time. And here's the thing about honesty. The people worth keeping in your life will respect your no. They'll understand you have limits. They'll appreciate knowing the truth. The people who get angry at your no, they were only using you anyway. They're mad because their free resource just became unavailable. Good. Let them be mad. They just revealed they never cared about you, only about what you provided. Your no filtered them out. That's not loss, that's clarity. Stop lying with your yes. Start being honest with your no. The temporary discomfort of saying no is nothing compared to the permanent resentment of lying with yes. You're not being nice by saying yes when you mean no. You're being dishonest. And dishonesty destroys relationships more than any boundary ever could. Be honest. Say no. Watch who stays. Those are your real relationships. Everyone else was just using you. Machiavelli once said, "Men judge generally more by the eye than by the hand, for everyone can see and few can feel." Translation: People see your constant yes. They don't feel your hidden no. They think you're willing when you're actually resentful. Stop the lie. Say the truth. No. Watch everything improve. Drop this in the comments. Every yes that should be no is a lie I tell myself. Your people-pleasing taught people to disrespect you. This is hard to hear, but it's true. Every time you accepted poor treatment without pushing back, you taught them poor treatment is acceptable. Every time you tolerated disrespect because you didn't want conflict, you taught them disrespect has no consequences. Every time you let someone cross your boundaries because you were afraid to enforce them, you taught them your boundaries don't exist. You trained people to treat you badly by being too nice to stop them. Think about the people who treat you worst. Did they start that way? Or did they gradually get worse as they realized you'd never push back? They tested boundaries. Small disrespects. You let it slide, they pushed further. You still didn't react, they pushed even further. Still nothing from you. Now they treat you however they want because you taught them they can. You taught you're safe to disrespect, that there are no consequences, that you'll take anything and still be nice. This is on you. Not entirely. They're the ones being disrespectful, but you're the one allowing it, tolerating it, accepting it because confrontation feels worse than disrespect. So you chose ongoing disrespect over one uncomfortable conversation, and now you're stuck in patterns where people treat you like garbage and you smile through it, because that's what you taught them to do. People will treat you exactly how you teach them to treat you. If you accept lateness, they'll always be late. If you accept canceled plans, they'll always cancel. If you accept being interrupted, they'll always interrupt. If you accept being the one who gives and never receives, they'll always take and never give. Your acceptance is permission. Your tolerance is approval. Your silence is agreement. They learn from you that this is how they should treat you. And here's the worst part, you can't blame them for treating you how you taught them to treat you. They're just responding to the training you provided. You never pushed back. You never set consequences. You never drew a line. They assumed everything was fine because you never indicated otherwise. Your niceness looked like approval. Your acceptance looked like preference. They thought you liked being treated this way because you never stopped them. The fix requires undoing all that training. And undoing training is harder than preventing bad training in the first place. You have to show them the boundaries that should have existed from the start. You have to enforce consequences that should have existed from the beginning. You have to push back on behavior you accepted for months or years. This feels sudden to them. Why are you suddenly upset about something you never cared about before? Because you finally stopped lying about not caring. You always cared. You just hid it. Now you're showing it. And they're confused. Because you trained them badly. Expect pushback. Expect confusion. Expect resistance. They're going to test your new boundaries hard because they don't believe you'll enforce them. You never did before. Why would you now? So they'll push. They'll cross lines. They'll see if you really mean it or if you'll go back to being the pushover they're used to. This is the test. Hold the line. Enforce the boundary. Accept that some people will leave rather than respect you. Let them. They were only there for the version of you that let them do whatever they wanted. Good relationships adjust. Bad relationships end. When you stop people-pleasing and start boundary setting, good people adjust. They apologize. They respect the new boundaries. They appreciate knowing where the lines are. Bad people resist. They guilt trip. They get angry. They try to make you feel wrong for having standards. These people leave, and that's good. You're filtering out users, keeping people who respect boundaries. This is healthy relationship management. Machiavelli once said, "Since it is difficult to join them together, it is safer to be feared than loved when one of the two must be lacking." Translation: it's better to be respected for your boundaries than liked for your people-pleasing. Respect builds healthy relationships. People-pleasing builds toxic relationships. Choose respect. If you taught people to disrespect you by never pushing back, Hit that like button. Drop this in the comments. I taught people to disrespect me by tolerating disrespect. People-pleasing is control disguised as kindness. You think you're being nice, you're actually trying to control how people see you. You say yes because you want them to think you're helpful. You agree because you want them to think you're agreeable. You never push back because you want them to think you're easy to work with. Everything is calculated to create a specific perception. Nice person, helpful person, agreeable person. That's not kindness. That's image management, that's control. And it's exhausting. Real kindness comes from wanting to help. People-pleasing comes from needing approval. There's a massive difference. Real kindness says yes when you want to help and no when you can't. People-pleasing says yes regardless of whether you want to help because you need them to approve of you. Real kindness is about them. People-pleasing is about you, about your need, your fear, your desperate attempt to control their opinion of you. And it never works. You can't control how people see you by always saying yes. They'll see what they see. People who value you will value you, whether you say yes or no. People who use you will use you as long as you let them. Your people-pleasing doesn't change how they see you. It changes how they treat you. They treat you like someone with no boundaries, someone they can use, someone who's desperate for approval. That's the perception you created with your people-pleasing. Not nice person, but desperate person. This control attempt also exhausted you, because controlling other people's perceptions is impossible. They think what they think, feel what they feel, decide what they decide. You can't control it, but you keep trying. By saying yes, by doing more, by being more available, thinking this time will be enough. This time they'll really like you. This time they'll appreciate you. They won't. Because approval you have to beg for isn't real approval. It's just them letting you keep trying. Real relationships don't require you to manage your image constantly. They don't require you to say yes to everything. They don't require you to hide your true feelings. You can say no. You can be honest. You can have boundaries. And they still like you. Not because you controlled their perception with people-pleasing, but because they actually value who you are, including your no's, including your boundaries, including your honest feelings. Stop trying to control people with niceness. Start being honest and see who stays. The people who stay when you stop people-pleasing are your real relationships. Everyone else was just using your need for approval. They weren't there for you. They were there for the version of you that always said yes. Let them go. Build relationships with people who respect your no as much as your yes. Machiavelli once said, "Everyone sees what you appear to be. Few experience what you really are." Translation: stop managing appearances with people-pleasing. Show who you really are with boundaries. Real people will appreciate reality. Fake people will leave. That's the goal. Drop this in the comments. My people-pleasing is control, not kindness. You're not responsible for other people's emotions. Read that again. You're not responsible for how people feel when you say no. Not responsible for their disappointment. Not responsible for their anger. Not responsible for their guilt trips. Not responsible for managing their emotional reactions to your boundaries. They're adults. They can handle hearing no. If they can't, that's their problem, not yours. People-pleasers carry everyone else's emotional weight. Someone asks for something. You want to say no, but you imagine how they'll feel if you say no. Disappointed, maybe angry, possibly hurt. So you say yes to avoid those feelings, not your feelings, their feelings. You just took responsibility for their emotional reaction to your boundary. That's not your job. That's emotional labor you assigned yourself. Stop doing it. Here's the truth. People feel what they feel regardless of how carefully you manage them. You can say no in the nicest possible way. They might still be disappointed. You can set boundaries with love and kindness. They might still be angry. You can't control their emotional reaction. So why are you exhausting yourself trying? Why are you sacrificing your needs to manage their feelings? They're going to feel what they feel. You might as well honor your needs in the process. Also, you're not doing them favors by managing their emotions. You're treating them like children who can't handle disappointment. They can. They're adults. They've heard no before. They survived. They'll survive your no too. By trying to protect them from disappointment, you're actually insulting them. You're saying they're too fragile to handle your honesty. They're not. Stop treating grown people like emotional invalids who need you to manage their feelings. And when you do say no, some people will try to make you responsible for their feelings. They'll guilt trip. I'm so disappointed. I thought I could count on you. This really hurts, all designed to make you feel bad for having a boundary. Don't take the bait. Their disappointment is their responsibility. Their hurt feelings are theirs to manage. You having a boundary isn't mean. Them trying to make you feel guilty for having a boundary is manipulation. This is especially important with people who are always disappointed by your boundaries. Nothing you do is enough. Every no is a betrayal. Every boundary is rejection. These people are emotionally manipulating you. They learn that disappointment makes you cave, so they use it as a weapon. Break this pattern. Say no. Let them be disappointed. Don't manage their disappointment. Don't apologize for your boundary. Just hold the line. They'll learn that disappointment doesn't work on you anymore. Then they'll either respect your boundaries or leave. Either outcome is good. Your only emotional responsibility is to yourself. Make sure you're okay. Make sure your needs are met. Make sure you're not sacrificing yourself on the altar of other people's feelings. They'll manage their feelings. They always do. You manage yours. That's healthy. That's boundaries. That's self-respect. Machiavelli once said, "It is better to be feared than loved if you cannot be both." Translation, it's better to be someone who sets boundaries even if it disappoints people, than someone who sacrifices themselves to keep everyone happy. Healthy people respect boundaries. Toxic people weaponize disappointment. Choose healthy. Drop this in the comments. I'm not responsible for other people's emotions when I set boundaries. The people pleaser in you dies today. Not because I convinced you, because you're finally tired enough. Tired of being used. Tired of saying yes when you mean no. Tired of being everyone's last priority while making them your first. Tired of accepting disrespect because confrontation feels wrong. Tired of managing everyone's emotions except your own. You're done. And being done is the first step to change. Here's what happens next. You start saying no. Not all the time, not to everything, just to things you don't want to do. Simple no. No explanation, no apology, no justification, just no. It'll feel uncomfortable, foreign, maybe even wrong. Do it anyway. The discomfort is you breaking out of people-pleasing prison. Push through it. Some people will be upset. Let them. They're upset because their free resource just became unavailable. That's not your problem. Some people will test your boundaries. Enforce them. They're checking if you really mean it, or if you'll go back to being a pushover. Show them you mean it. Some people will leave. Let them. They were only there for what you provided, not for who you are. The people who respect your boundaries are your people. Keep them. The people who push back on your boundaries are users. Release them. This filtering process is painful but necessary. You're building a life of real relationships instead of transactional ones. Real relationships require boundaries. Fake relationships require people-pleasing. Choose real. You'll also notice something interesting. The people you are most afraid to say no to, they handle it fine. You built them up in your head as fragile or angry or vindictive. Most aren't. Most respect your no. Most appreciate knowing where you stand. Your fear was bigger than the reality. You wasted years people-pleasing because of fears that weren't even accurate. Don't beat yourself up about it. Just notice it. Learn from it. Move forward with less fear. The people-pleaser in you isn't dead yet. It'll try to come back. Old habits die hard. You'll be tempted to slip back into saying yes to everything. Don't. Remember how exhausted you were. Remember how disrespected you felt. Remember how much resentment you carried. That's where people-pleasing leads. Back to exhaustion, disrespect, and resentment. Stay with boundaries. Stay with honoring yourself. Stay with your no. Do 3 things right now. Smash that like button if you're done being a people-pleaser. Subscribe for more truth that kills toxic patterns. Drop in the comments the first person you're saying no to this week. The people-pleaser in you dies when you decide your respect matters more than their approval. When you decide your needs matter as much as theirs. When you decide being honest is better than being nice. That decision happened when you clicked this video. You're done people-pleasing. Now you're starting self-respecting. Welcome to the other side. It's uncomfortable at first, but it's real. And real beats fake every single time. Drop this final affirmation. I say no without guilt. I set boundaries without apology. I respect myself before pleasing others. The people pleaser in me is dead.